Today, I'm making pins with shrinky plastic. Some assembly required. Hello! I thought that it was time to do something different, fun for anyone. So I decided to make these shrinky plastic pins because, first of all, shrinky plastic is fun. It's always fun. It's just part of the definition of shrinky plastic. And second, because yesterday we finally had time to put up the rest of Lily's bulletin board things. You'll see them later on. But they're really cool and they needed some more push pins. So you could make this in a just pins that you can wear kind of a way. You can make it in a just push pins kind of a way. You could do both. You could do either. I am planning to do a little of each, but mostly put the focus on the cork board, but it's up to you. So for this project, here is what I gathered. I got some plain paper, shrinky plastic, any brand I'm sure is fine, pin backs and push pins, some strong glue, a couple different kinds, shiny markers, colored pencils, sharpies, and a pencil. Later on, I'm going to use a baking sheet and some parchment paper and, of course, an oven for the shrinking. It's a pretty straightforward project. Let's get started. First, I'm going to sketch some ideas. I'm going to just draw a whole bunch so that I have plenty to choose from. This is great because I'm sure some of them are going to be ugly, but that's okay because I don't have to use all of them. If I draw enough, I'm going to like some. Now I will trace the outlines onto the shrinky plastic. I'm using sort of a skinny Sharpie pen because usually that doesn't smudge. Make sure you draw on the more textured side, the side that feels a little bit more like paper and less like shiny plastic, or else it's not going to stick. I want some of the pins to be round, so I'm going to trace a circle around the whole thing. Time to color! This is one of the most fun parts. The other part is shrinking, of course, that's the best. I am going to combine some of my coloring materials for some of them. Some of them are just colored pencil. I think some of them are just going to be marker. But each one has strengths and weaknesses, so we'll see what we like the best. Some of the light colors definitely smudge the black from the outline. They kind of smudge it in. And if that's too annoying, you could always add the outlines last, but I didn't do that. I like to see what's going on so that I can color inside, but it is totally fine if you don't color right up to the line. I mean, sometimes it's hard to see where you're coloring because the white is really hard to see, but you're not going to see any tiny spaces around the lines when the whole thing shrinks later. Now we can cut them out and pop them on a baking sheet, leaving some space between them just in case they move around while they're cooking. I lined my baking sheet with parchment paper because of course I did. I love parchment paper and I do not want these to stick. This particular brand of shrinky plastic only needs 1 to 3 minutes in the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Basically, what I usually do is keep them in the oven until they finish curling and flatten back out again. A couple of mine were a little bit lumpy at the end, so I just squashed them with a spatula. It worked. It may not be recommended, but it worked. And finally, I'm gluing on the pin backs and the push pins right onto the shrinky plastic. I'm using sort of an E6000 type of glue that we had left over from a craft kit. You could repurpose old pins for this or use the pin backs that you can get at the store. Or, you know, if you also want to use them as push pins, just stick push pins on them. A lot of these guys are going to be for our bulletin board, so I'm just using some old push pins that I found in a box. I think that when you're working with shrinky plastic, they turn out the best when you make them big and simple, because the tiny ones lose most of their details anyway, and they just end up being little and dark and sort of hard to see. So if you are making something little, try to make it light, maybe use color sparingly. I think they're supposed to shrink like 1/3 of their size, so keep that in mind when you're making them. They're dry! It really did not take them very long to dry. I don't know what is in that glue, but it's probably not good for you. My round ones are definitely not round anymore, but that's okay. That's fine. The one thing that I found a little bit irritating about, I don't know if it's all kinds of shrinky plastic or just this particular kind, but it's see-through. So the pin backs you can kind of see how it's sort of darker on its forehead, I guess. I tried to match up the pins with something that kind of didn't show through that much. I guess you could try to paint the back, but it's so shiny. I don't think anything would stick, but it's possible. I mean, the markers, if you use a dark color, you can't really see through it. So that is another option. Probably if you used sort of a Posca paint pen kind of a deal, that wouldn't be too see-through either. But definitely the Sharpie marker and the colored pencils ended up being a little bit see-through. It worked out for these, but if you were making something that really had to be opaque, maybe there's another brand, or maybe you want to do it a different way. Keep it in mind. It could be annoying. The see-through pins were also kind of helpful. They don't show through all that much because they're see-through. So that's another option if the translucence bugs you. Because it bugs me. But these are pretty fun. I can't wait to go stick them into the bulletin board and see what they look like in real life. I only made one of them a pin that you can wear, kind of a pin. It's the little Christmas tree guy. But you could make all of these for your backpack. Maybe if I was going to wear them on a jacket or a backpack, I might varnish them somehow because I just don't really trust it not to flake off if you touched anything to them. They don't come off if you rub them, but I don't trust things to work. I definitely think that shrinky plastic is fun. It's a fun project. It can be a tiny bit irritating if you feel like it has to be perfect, but I just tried to go with the flow today, so I'm perfectly happy. They're fine. The shiny markers, I wouldn't recommend because you can't see them very well at all. They don't really show up, so what's the point? Maybe you might want to put those in at the end after it's been baked or shrunk.
Maybe they would show up better that way.
If you enjoyed this video, first of all, you should totally go do this and make it and have fun. And feel free to give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed and you like this kind of video, you should probably subscribe. You can do it right underneath the video. It's super easy. And click the notification bell so that you know every time I make a new video. New videos come out on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So stay tuned, and until the next video, be awesome, and I will see you then. Bye!